Then for the yellow flowers, just for something a little bit different, I thought I'd do a little cross in the middle instead. So to do that, I'm once again going to come up under the second row, and you should be able to see a kind of middle thread running through the center of this flower. So we're not going over the center thread yet, we're coming up next to it, to the right of it. Now we're going up over this second thread here into the box above that, so that we're going diagonally across that center thread, the center warp thread. Then we're going to come up to the right of the center warp thread, the same that we were up here, down here where we came in, except we're coming up at the top this time. And now we're going to crisscross that down so that we get a little cross in the middle. Once again, we'll leave a bit of thread hanging and we'll weave that in later. So I'm going to retie the knot and go to my next cross. Now this part is also optional, but I really like the effect it gives. So what I've got here is some embroidery floss in green, and I'm using all 6 strands. I've threaded that onto my tapestry needle and I've made a double knot at the bottom. And I'm going to come up on the third, so 1, 2, 3, the third, should we call it a petal, just for a reference point. Okay, so I'm bringing my floss through there, and from there I'm going to go on the diagonal through each square until I join up with one of these petals. So first I'll go on the first diagonal that I can see, come up through the next diagonal, down through the next. Once again, not pulling it tight, but just letting it sit on top of the weaving. Okay, so now I've gone to the top. So I'm going to come out on this side of this petal, and I'm going to take the diagonals going down this time. Coming up, going down, coming up, and eventually we join up with another petal. Then we can come out the other side again, so just like we did for this flower, and what we end up with is, it kind of looks like a pretty garland of flowers, and I think this just kind of finishes it off nicely. This is all just very basic embroidery. You don't need to know a lot about embroidery just to be able to do these kind of stitches. Now where did I come out for that one? I came out that side, okay. And you just follow that pattern and do the same thing the whole way across. Now if you want to get a little bit fancier, I decided to finish off at each end with a couple of little leaves, and these are quite simple to work. They are just detached chain stitches, also known as lazy daisy stitches. So I'm going to come up next to one of the petals just at the very end. I'm going to make a kind of circle and go back down in the exact same hole, but don't let go of the circle. And then depending on how big you want your leaf to be, I don't want mine to be too big, so I'm going to come up about there, come through one of these, and that's going to hold your leaf in place. You can pull it a little tighter to get it how you want it to look. And then we're going to go down in the same square, except we're going to go over this last loop thread, and that locks it into place. Done. And I want to add another leaf down here, so I go to the other spot where there's another petal, do the same thing, go back down into that spot but keep the loop, and find a spot where I want to come up, tighten it a little, and then go down over that loop to lock it in place. Then, because it's embroidery thread and it's a little bit slippery, I would knot it behind the work and later we'll weave that in. Embroidery on, I don't know, something inside me goes a little bit nuts, and I just want to embroider everything all of a sudden, but I've restrained myself this time because I think this looks really sweet as it is, and if I embroidered more, well, it might be a little bit of overkill. But if you were so inclined, if your brain goes a bit nuts with an embroidery needle as well, you could always do some extra stitching along here, some running stitch along both borders to accentuate the borders. You could do some French knots. I mean, you know, there are all kinds of things you could do. You could do little bunches of lazy daisy stitches here to make some more leaves. You know, use your creative, your artistic freedom and make it your own. Okay, so the next part, once we've finished our border, is pretty simple. We're just going to weave 5 inches in this plain weave with our cream. Then we're going to launch into a bit more pickup. It's going to be a fairly simple pickup, but hopefully an effective one. We'll just carry on with our plain weave, and I will see you back here once we both have 5 inches. For the next step, we're going to introduce some pickup behind the heddle. I'm going to use my pickup stick and pick it up at the front and then transfer it to the back so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. So I have the heddle in the down position, and I'm going to start by going through the shed of the border, just of the border piece. So where that last blue thread ends there, that is the border right to the edge. So we're not going to start our pickup until we get to the first thread that's out of the border. Then we are going to do 1 down, 1 up, and we're going to do that 4 times. So 2, 3, 4. Okay, and we'll have to finish by inserting back into the shed there. So that is an up thread there, but we've inserted back into the shed. Then we're going to do 10 up. So don't count that last thread. That's part of this sequence here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to do the pattern of 2 down, 1 up 7 times. So 2 down, 1 up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once again, we're finishing with an up, but we're going to leave that on top of the pickup stick and go back into the shed. Now, next we are going to do another 10 up, not including this one. Remember, that's part of this sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to finish off as we started with a 1 down, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up, 1 down, and then when we get to the border thread, so the first blue thread on the left hand side, we're going to go through that shed. Okay, so check your pattern against mine, see if it looks similar. This is what we should have, and I'm just going to transfer that. So I'm going to pop a stick shuttle in there and turn that on edge, and I can take my stick out and insert it into the back where the space is made. Then we can just slide it to the back. Ready to go.